Hello my friends, so welcome back to the channel. So today is the long-awaited and promised second part of the storytelling about ghost ships from Norway. Remember the first part I was telling you about how the Black Death came to Norway by means of a ghost ship? Yeah, if you missed that video, I will link that down in the description, also pin in the comment section. Make sure you watch it. But today it's a different ship. So if about the ship that brought Black Death to Norway we were in doubt if it's a legend or not, then this one is a real one. This is not a legend. This really happened. Also, just a reminder that by definition, a ghost ship not necessarily is something like that we associate, for example, with the Flying Dutchman. It can also be referred to a vessel that is abandoned and not used anymore for different reasons, mysterious or not. So this story will be more or less about that one, and also will involve a little bit of history. Anyways, yeah, I pre-recorded that story, so that's why now you're gonna see a switch in my clothing and my hairstyle, so let's get into it. Now, this ship actually has a real history, documented history, and it has served a lot in the waters of Norway, although at the end of its life, it was being a ghost ship as far from Norway as in Thailand. The city of Ranong lies 250 kilometers north of Phuket and looks out across the Kraburi estuary towards Burma. At the widest point, there is a mere 4-kilometer stretch of water that separates the two countries. Moored to the banks of overgrown countryside, there sat a huge cruise ship. Moss and mold has already begun to turn the paint green. Rust was eating into the metal. Nobody was doing the maintenance, and nobody was guarding it. Who would have known that this cruise ship will end up like this? Welcome on board on the ghost ship of MS Kong Olavs. The view was really gross and very creepy, and many adventurous people who like to conquer these kind of facilities and ships or buildings, they just went on board to see what's actually inside this ghost ship. So I saw some pictures and it was really creepy, like different things scattered around, everything rotten, broken and crooked, and kitchenware everywhere, mattresses all around, some computers on the cockpit, like really old ones. But what really happened? How did MS Kong Olav ended up so far from Norway? What is the story behind it? Well, it started actually as far as 1964 when they built the ship as a part of cruise ship, like express cruise ship, which here in Norway is known as Hurtigruten. Hurtigruten is a shipping route along the Norwegian coast between Bergen and Kirkenes, the most famous and historically significant coastal route in Norway. It started in 1893 as a main route for mail, passengers and express goods, and developed into the most important connection between the parts of the country. With the development in transport, the route has lost much of its traditional importance, and since the 1990s, it's primarily based on tourist traffic. During the Second World War, many of the Hurtigruten cruise ships were lost, so at one point they started to rebuild the Hurtigruten fleet, and MS Kong Olav was the 13th newly built cruise ship after the war, and it was also the third built in Norway. MS Kong Olav had a long life of serving. During its existence, it changed a couple of owners. It undergone several improvements, like inside they improved the cabins, the rooms, also colored the chimneys, and it served a lot. Of course, there were some damages now and then, but they were all improved and everything was completely fine. And even though it changed the owners, it always remained MS Kong Olav. They never changed its name. On April 29, 1997, MS Kong Olav was docked at the port of Bergen, and that was after its last trip as a part of Hurtigruten fleet. So after 33 years of serving, MS Kong Olav was substituted by a newly built ship, which was Norge, and after putting on retirement MS Kong Olav, they decided to put it out for sale. On July 2nd, 1997, it became known that the ship was purchased by some shipping company in Bangkok. And so, again, without changing its name, the ship started its trip to south. So the buyers of MS Kong Olav wanted to make this ship into a hotel and casino in one of the islands of Burma, but unfortunately the facilities and everything on the ship proved that it's not very sufficient for doing this kind of business. The first season, when they opened MS Kong Olav as a hotel and casino, was a true failure. The bookings were really low, and by the year 2003 all of the bookings were halted because they didn't want to suffer any more losses. And so the ship was just putting its anchor a little bit like 2 kilometers offshore and just standing there and getting rusty. And then at one moment, I guess it was because of the water streams or whatever, somehow it managed to drag the anchor and it almost crashed into one of the Burma's islands. After this accident, they apparently understood that they can also lose the ship forever, because if it can drag its anchor and move away, then it can also easily just go out in the sea and disappear there and just float without anyone on it, and maybe cause like more damage, like people getting heart attacks when seeing a ghost ship, or it could just crash somewhere. So they decided to move the ship to a lot safer place where it cannot move, and it was like a place where that wasn't so much affected by tides and also winds. And the ship stayed in that place for around 10 years. So just imagine about the adventures that it has gone through, about the waters it has sailed, and the things that it has done and suffered. And now it was just standing there for 10 years, and the quality of it was just simply declining to the lowest lows. It is known that in the year 2013, Norway actually tried to get the ship back for themselves. However, when they commissioned the ship and tried to assess the condition of it, they understood that it would cost a very huge sums of money to get it like able to go out in the sea again, so they had to forget about this idea. At the end, the ship ended up in an estuary in Thailand, where it later on was cut up. It's quite a sad ending for a ship that has done so much, but you know, this ship has a legacy, so it is well known not only among those who are traveling on it, but also among those who were once working on it. And all of them in the interviews that I read were saying that it was just more than a simple cargo or whatever ship. It had like a soul or something. For example, I read an interview from a man, his name was Sten Magne Engen, who has been an acting captain on the ship, and he said that he's so sad about the ship being cut into pieces. But many things before the ship was cut were actually saved from it and were in quite a good condition. The bell was lost, however, a man named Carl Fredrik Christensen, he saved like leather chairs, some art, life jackets, and like many like things from the ship just to like have in a collection. Many of them were of course sold, and among those things were actually some that had like a little bit like artsy value, because like the design of the ship inside was done by Egersund Fajans Fabric, so there was also some kind of like artsy thing that they got out from it. But in general, that's the story of a real ghost ship from Norway that really existed and had a long journey and ended up as like totally ghosted. So let me know in the comments, did you know any of these stories? First, the legend about like death and how it came to Norway, and second, this one about MS Kong Olav. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, because I'm trying to post not only long videos with storytelling, but also shorts. And I really push myself to post those shorts each and every day, so you get really entertained. Okay, have a nice day. Enjoy whatever weather you have. Today is finally a nice day in Bergen. It's not raining. Most probably when I will be putting out this video, it's gonna be raining. See you next time.